Pasta with
Steph.
and Jay. We are coming to you live, although you're seeing this recorded, so live recorded from lovely Wyomissing, Pennsylvania this week, which, if we haven't mentioned it before, that's where Steph is from. She would be the second most famous person that's come out of Wyomissing. The first would be the one and only Taylor Swift, which, for those of you who live in small town America or know anything about small town America, they do all know each other. And and Steph can add more to this, but didn't your dad work with
Oh,
Taylor
yeah,
or
yeah.
something like?
Taylor Swift's father was my dad's stockbroker, and Scott Swift. And I used to hear about Scott Swift all the time. This is when I was in high school, and Taylor was probably 2 years old, if she was even born. And my dad really liked Scott, and he liked him so much that he put on his work phone, answering machine. We don't even have answering machines anymore. His answering machine was, "Hi, I'm Joe Rado, and if you're a stockbroker, don't even bother." And he made this recording because he loved Scott so much as a stockbroker. He didn't want anyone to even try to get my dad's business. And one day, this is a very famous story, Scott called my dad and heard this message and thought it was about him. Like my dad didn't want him, to call him, and got mad at my dad and gave my dad's account to the guy who still had my dad's account and has then now inherited all of our stock accounts. But yeah, my dad was a big fan of Scott Swift's.
Yeah, wow, that's yeah. So that was maybe the first Swift breakup,
Yeah,
right there.
yeah. I'm surprised that Taylor didn't write a song about it.
Well, give her time. Maybe next time you see her, you can remind her of that story, and she will write a song about it.
But actually, she was really sweet. I did meet her a couple of times before she became uber famous. Like she was kind of getting known, but she had some small concert events here, and not a lot of people knew who she was. But I brought my daughters, and she was very, very sweet back then to my kids.
That's cool. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Nice. Anyway, so I figured we'd share that
yeah,
little history and background on Steph and this wonderful little town that we're in. So, just kind of to recap, or just to make everybody understand, for those of you who are just tuning in the first time, I know you've probably never heard of this thing, but there's this new thing called podcasts, and they're I think they're really going to be popular. And we thought we would kind of jump in. Joke. Nobody needs another podcast. We get it. And we're not looking to be the next new anything or whatever. And, if there's two or three of you listening this week, that's amazing. We started it really because people were just saying, you should share some of your stories. Like, you guys are unique in how you're partners in life, but you're partners in all the work that you each do together and separately, and you complement each other. And you've just had different experiences and interesting experiences, and they're inspiring to a lot of people. And it's not like we're going to change someone's life and, oh my God, they're all of a sudden going to do this. But our thought was more of like, if something in some of the way we're doing what we do, or some of our little stories can help someone either get through their day, or maybe they'll learn something and it can help them in some way, then that's a huge bonus. It's not about anything else in it for us. So it's just really about, there's a reality of that things are going on in the world all the time. And as creatives, we feel those things. And so we're kind of hoping to share different things that are happening in our worlds, personal, that are just personal in our little worlds, personal that are affecting us, that are happening in the bigger scope of things and around the world as a whole. And hopefully that can help. And by sharing some of our experiences, maybe that can help other people.
yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely a really cool thing that we think will help other people, because there seems to be not as much dialogue in the world today. It seems like everybody wants to say what they're thinking, and no one's really talking to each other. We're talking at each other, or we're afraid to articulate our thoughts because, people are being, yelled at and no one's really listening. People are afraid that they're going to isolate themselves based on their
Like
points
it's
of
not
view.
really conversation, it's talk,
Yeah.
right? Like people are just talking to each other or whatever, but conversation is different.
Yeah.
Conversation is listening to the other person, not having your thought until you've processed what the other person has said, right? Like
Yeah.
that's to me
Yeah.
is conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the two of us coming at issues that are happening in the whole world, not just where we are. I think there's a lot of things that are happening that people can take away something from to maybe help them maybe have a better understanding or learn about something new or maybe not feel so shitty about all the things that are happening in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I think we both do it, subconsciously is that, but I think just in the things we do and the people we interact with, I think a lot of what we do is try to make people smile or have some sort of joy. I mean, obviously, you started a company called Have Some Fun Today with the mission to help people have some fun today, which is based on what your father said. So obviously, that's part of your ethos and part of your, what's inside. And for me, I mean, even as throughout my many whatever iterations of whatever the hell it is that I am, like I always remember doing things not as a jokester. Like there's kids that are like the prankster, the jokester, and they always trying to make people laugh. Like that, I wasn't that. I'm not, and I'm not that now. But I do like to help people smile. I do like to help people laugh and enjoy the moment. So yeah, I think that's a lot of that. And sometimes all we're here to do is to listen to, sometimes we're part of what we do is help just by listening, like just by
Yeah.
somebody needs to talk or they want to talk about something and we try to be there for them. So anyway, that's just kind of the idea behind of what we're doing. And I just kind of wanted to share that. And I mean, I'll probably do this a couple more times and then if you guys don't get it, you don't get it. So what we do as part of like our format, for lack of a better word, is we try to come up with a few topics that we find have been kind of resonating with us through the course of the week, and kind of share some of our insights into that, and then wrapping that up, and then we'll get into this thing that we're calling rapid fire questions, where we're just going to ask these questions. And what we've started to do, the first one or two episodes, we were coming up with them ourselves, and now we're asking our team and our partners to kind of help us, and they come up with the questions. So it's not us thinking them. So hopefully that'll make them even better. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I guess I'll should I start off? I'll start off the first one.
Start off.
So okay, the first topic of the week we're calling war. I know that's a negative thing, and you're not supposed to talk about negative things and like it to that whatever. So the reality is we've been in the world. There's just been a lot of shitty things happening for a long time. I mean, there's been you can always think back of like, oh, well, there's that war and there's that war and this war, and now we're living, in these things, and you hear people talk about like, well, if that thing happens, we're going to be in World War III. I'm like, guys, we are in World War III. Like this is World War III. It's a version of World War III. It may not be what we thought it would be.
Hmm.
We're all dealing with something. There is something going on in every country in the world right now, certainly in the major areas of the world that are affecting our lives. As creatives, you deal with different people. There's people on our team, that are like, I don't watch the news. I decided to stop watching the news 5 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't watch the news. And part of me is like what? I don't understand. Like, why wouldn't you want to know? And I remember one person saying to me, they're like, if something really, really, really bad happens, somebody's going to tell me. Like, I'm going to find out. So, like, why do I need to think about this? Why do I need to be bombarded with this, you know, negativity all the time? Like, I just do
Hmm.
what I do, and part of me thinks like that's like an ostrich mentality, but there's a part of me that's like, I look forward to not waking up every morning and being like, I better check my phone. So I don't know. I mean, I mean, I could go on about this for a really long time, and I'm not going to do that. But I think as creatives, I, I'm I'm constantly inspired when I see like the good in humanity. I mean, it's hard sometimes because you see so much negativity, but I think we both deal with it, Steph, right? I mean, like, there's people in our world that are really affected by what's going on, whether let's on the topic of war, for example, and it depresses them, and they're not able to function, like they're not
Yeah.
able to kind of do what they do. You can see it. You can see that they're not their best selves anymore, or they're going through a thing. And there's others that are just totally inspired by it, like they're totally like motivated to be like, I'm going to make the world a better place. I'm going to do something that's going to inspire people. And I think you do that. I mean, I've seen you, during COVID, what you painted and how you did things. You showed like the negativity of it, but you created art that was like super positive and powerful. And so, maybe you can explain a little bit about like how you deal with these sort of things and with all the stuff going on, like how that affects your creative process.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I mean, I feel all of those things. They like there are times when I really get so down when I see too much negative, scary news. And I think part of the news today, they're trying to scare you. I think that is literally,
All clickbait stuff, right?
yeah, I think that's literally part of why so many people can't shut it off because it is addicting the way they format it with the headlines and the photographs and the videos they select. And you can really go down a rabbit hole. And I know that there were times earlier this year, as you know, that I was having a hard time functioning.
Yeah.
And then you put like parameters on yourself. You don't do certain things that are going to lead to you kind of going down a rabbit hole. But the other side of that is my artwork is so emotionally based that all the emotions that I feel that bubble up inside of me through looking at the news, for example, and seeing the atrocities happening not only in our country right now, but all over the world. And it's been like this for years. And so I will then use that. I use that energy to create my art. And I think that energy, that passion, that depth of emotion, whether it's good emotion or scared emotion, it all goes into the artwork. So I do use it, and I'm sure if someone is a musician or a writer or all the different ways people create, I'm sure that is being like that energy is being utilized. So that's one way of positively channeling the energy produced. But yeah, it's a scary time.
I mean, do you find that, like, if you can think of a time, let's say pre-COVID, when, I mean, I'm sure there was a war at that point if I looked up on a calendar, but do you think of times that, like, when there weren't any wars going on, like, was your creativity different? Like, do you feel you didn't have as much inspiration, or you had more inspiration, or that, it affected you in a different way than, let's say, it does now?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think I thought about it as much. Like I remember with the Gulf War back in the 90s, that is very memorable to me. And like I remember looking at CNN, for example, and like really following that. I was a fashion designer, new in the fashion design world in New York City at that time. So I don't think I was like in the same place mentally as I am today. Like, I think things are much different today. We have more news outlets feeding us this stuff.
Mm.
So I think that the atmosphere in the world is more about war and conflict right now. And I don't remember ever feeling this.
Yeah.
Like maybe around 9/11, there was this heightened, but now this thing is so global. It is
Yeah.
not restricted to one continent.
Well, it's look. I mean, think about it. Like when and it's you know we're going to say certain things here. We are by no means racist or anything negative, but sometimes things are going to come up, and some people can take them a little out of context. So I just wanted to kind of preface that. But if you remember when COVID hit, one of the first things we did from a business perspective for you was say we have to look at different options than China.
Yeah.
We immediately were like, we don't know what's going on. And it wasn't from like, we think they invented this and they're trying to rule the world. It wasn't that, but it was like, okay, we are doing business and you were doing a lot of your manufacturing in China. And we're like, this is a problem. We don't know what the problem is, but we have to look at different options from what if we can't get product any longer? Or what if we looked at it it did affect us by something that happened in a different part of the world. And I think those are things that are happening. Like there are people that don't want to do business with countries, and there's all these other types of things because of these things. And I think you can't escape it at this point. I think it'll be interesting over the coming years how we learn to adapt to these things, how we are able to break through and maybe create stronger bonds with people and less friction with people that we may think are the enemy where they may not really be the enemy. Like I know that sounds a little too kumbaya, but I think it's possible because I think at a certain point we just get tired of the fighting. I hope.
Yeah. I think things come in waves, don't you? I mean, like, you've been saying all of this stuff for a while, like, things are going to get worse before they get better. And I think we're in a wave globally of everybody being pissed off about the way certain things have been going. And there's like a momentum right now that is global. And I think that we're going through this momentous energy that is sweeping across the entire planet. But I think eventually people are going to get sick of this and want some kind of peace again. I think that that's going to be craved at some point. I'm craving it now, but I think at some point more people are going to be craving it. And I think that is when we're going to see some return to civility. That's my hope.
Yeah. No, I look, I feel you. I mean, and again, I don't want to take up the whole podcast on this. I mean, we could go on and on and on this for sure. But I think it is a tricky thing, and I think we're going to see a lot of new and interesting creative types of projects coming out through this sort of feeling because it's art in all its forms, right? Like art, painting, like what
Yeah.
you do, filmmaking, music, sculptures, theater, all these sort of things. They're all some sort of form of artistic expression. And I think when we don't necessarily communicate that well, or we don't know how to communicate, we communicate through art in one of those
Mm-hmm.
forms. And it could be the written word as well. So I think there'll be a lot of that, and it'll be interesting to see where that goes because there could be a whole new evolution of a new art form that we haven't discovered yet.
I mean, to that point, and obviously I've been reading a lot about this as an artist, as an abstract artist. The whole abstract expression movement was a result of the geopolitical issues of the Great Depression, World War One, World War Two, people all congregating in New York City during and after World War Two, and just an explosion of energy and creativity. And so I think it is great food for the creative mind. And I do agree with you. We are going to see an explosion of creativity and the outcomes of that creativity probably within the next 10 years.
Yeah, that'll
That's
be
my
cool.
prediction.
Yeah, that'll be really cool. Yeah, so I think we can move on. Let's
Yeah.
move on a little
Yeah.
from here. I think this is the sort of thing that's going to come up again because there'll be a specific thing. But I kind of wanted to touch this more on a broader point
Yeah. I think
this week
that's good.
because I thought we should just touch on it a little bit. So something that has come up in our lives for sure, and I think we hear this with a lot of different people we speak to as well, is facing our fears or facing like our biggest fears, I think we all have something that we're concerned about. Like, if this happens, this is what's going to happen. We have this fear, and I've read about this a bit, and I've spoken to philosophers and psychiatry people and all sorts of different people that look at these types of things. And how do you work with that? Like, when you have this really big fear, is it overhanging? Is it always there? And all sort of stuff. So, but I think in the creative world, we have that, like, and there's everything from like imposter syndrome and all sorts of stuff. But there's these fears, and I think how we face them when it becomes close to potentially a reality,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it could be anything. It could be losing a loved one, or it could be losing a job, or losing a relationship, or whatever. There's different things we have that are a fear that we have.
Or getting an illness that you always feared you might get, and then you get it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions about that. Like, do we perpetuate these things? Do we think about them in such a way that we're foretelling them, or whatever? So, but I think again, as creatives, like, how do we deal with that? Like, how do we address those things and still do what we do? Like, do we? I mean, you've had things that you definitely have certain things that, we've talked about, that
Yeah.
are real concerns of yours, and, health and financial and emotional, things like that. Like, I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I think we all have our own way of processing that and dealing with it. I'm just, maybe you can share a little bit. Like, I know you've had some things that have, you know,
Yeah. I think
overhanging.
I know it's an interesting thing because, like, I feel like almost everybody in the world, I'm going to go that big, has probably something that they have tucked away in the back of their mind that they think about, and maybe not all the time, but it's come up a few times at least, and they don't want to go there. They don't really want to think about it because a lot, like to your point, do we self manifest certain things that we really don't want to happen? But even just the saying it out loud, well, geez, I hope X doesn't happen, is that putting that energy out there in the universe? And I know you probably think I'm so woo woo when I talk about that kind of stuff. But also, I know that you do believe in not perpetuating some idea through energy. You often warn me about that. And I look at it more like I'm a realist. Certain things have happened in my life. And so when X happens, it gets my back up. I start to think, oh my gosh, does that mean this thing that I'm so afraid of happening is going to happen next? And then what am I going to do? And I think it's an interesting thing when you get really close to that thing happening, and you really do have to face that fear. You really do have to face the outcome of, okay, what am I actually going to do when that thing happens and my life changes, or my life has to change because of that? And I think there is a good thing in that, because I do think it helps you know what you're going to do. And it can also give you a relief and a release of pressure to now know, okay, so when that happens, now I know what I'm going to do, because I've already gone through this in my head and I've wrapped my brain around it, and I've realized that if the worst thing that I'm afraid of happens, I know I'm still going to be okay, because I have now defined what is really important to me in life, and I'm not going to be beholden to things that are just outside things, and they aren't really important for my happiness. I think it makes you go deeper into yourself and the foundation of why you're really here and really what really matters.
Yeah, I feel you. Um,
You're like laughing at me.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm smiling. It's a big
Okay.
difference. It's a very big difference. It's a
Okay.
very, very big difference. So I hear you. I do feel that there's a couple of layers to that. So I feel that if you have a fear about something, which we all have fears about one thing or another, that's fine for the most part. For the most part, if we keep playing that scenario in our head, we're foretelling, we're creating that energy. We're bringing it. That thing will probably happen because we're making it happen. It isn't going. It isn't. Doesn't have to happen. It wasn't aligned to happen, but we've now shifted the alignment, and now we're going to make it happen. So that's one part of it that I do when I see people do that. People that I care about, you in particular, but other friends of mine that are different level of friendship, obviously, that I see that and I do try to guide them away from that because I see where it can go and I can feel it. I can feel the energy of it and I do what I can. But I also feel that it's not benefiting anybody to be in that space before that space happens. Now, just to be clear, I'm overboard is maybe not the right word, but I'm pretty big on, let's say in the film and the film related worlds in pre-production. I'm a huge proponent of like we have to be ready for this shoot. We have to be ready. We got to make sure everything is right. Double check, triple check, make sure we have it. Did we pack the box? I'm big on that. But I'm big on that for an upside. I'm not big on that for a downside. So I'm all about preparing for success. I'm all about lining up for successful things. I'm not good at, oh, tomorrow's going to be such a shitty day. And like, oh, this thing is going to happen. And then I'm going to have to move. And then, okay, but you're not there yet. And now you didn't only ruin that thing, which may actually happen. Now you ruined today or a week or two before that could have been very enjoyable. And maybe you would have gotten something out of it. And maybe that bad thing wouldn't have been as bad. Or you would have at least been in a stronger, more rested, more energized place to deal with that bad thing. Whereas if you're continually in that negative space around it, it's just negative on top of negative on top of negative. I just don't find that to be a very healthy thing. And again, from the creative point, like if you're thinking in that way, how well are you doing the thing that you're doing creatively? How good is your art? How good is that photograph that the photographer is taking? How good is that, dress or suit that designer is making? If they're already in this weird place, I just don't think that's a very healthy. I just don't think it's healthy. I don't. And
No,
it's not that I don't ever do that. It's not like I'm so special, but I think there's that sort of thing, and I think, and we've talked about this about staying in the moment, and we talk about, when you're having a meal, like just have the meal, like stay in that moment. Like yes, there's this other shit later, but let's enjoy that. Let's taste, that spice, that whatever. So I think it's good that we prepare ourselves for whatever the fears we have. I mean, it's fine. It's fine to have a concern about something, and fears may be a big word, but okay. And I totally agree. Again, even from a creative, you think about creatively, I watch you prepare when you're going to do a painting, and your brushes are here, and you make sure you get your paint, and even like when we're, like the stuff that you like to get, and you have been painting in the apartment too, which is really cool, but there's limited to what you can do there.
Yeah.
Your bigger stuff is obviously here. But the place, Blick, that's right near us that you really like to get their stuff, that's where you get your supplies. So you're preparing. I'm like, you're not even in the studio, and you're preparing not for negative, you're preparing for positive. You're getting that brush that I'm going to do this thing, and I got to think, you're thinking about it. So my mind is, do that with everything. So do that with the good things we want to do in life, but do them for the negative things that are coming, so that hopefully we don't get there. And again, sometimes that's just your destiny and it is going to happen and you can
Mhm.
fight it. I mean, you've heard me say that, like, if it's your time, you cannot run fast enough. Like,
Mhm.
that's what it is. That's why I don't, in general, I don't get nervous. I don't have fear on planes. I just don't like, I just don't like, I'm like, it's not, I've somehow wired myself to kind of not allow myself to go there. And again, I do have things that I get worked up about for sure, but because we have had experiences where you've had things, you've come really close to things that you are very concerned about
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
this, or, whether it's a family issue or a financial issue or whatever, or safety issue. And I get that. But I think, and I see it because like when you pass that storm, you're reinvigorated and you come through it with a little new nuance, I think, than what you have before.
Well, I mean, you have to understand that I have a lot going on. I am juggling. I juggle an incredible amount, and I have a lot of people depending on me. So there's a lot at stake, and I'm such a mom. I think it's a little bit of my nurturing momness that like and also being a single mom. I think that all of those things have affected me a lot, and I've had experiences in that transition of becoming a single mom that are very hard to shut out. So I think I have a lot of PTSD from experiences where significant people let me down, and I wasn't prepared for it. And I am one of those people who I like to be prepared.
Yeah.
So if I get anywhere close to anything that's gonna be a danger to the people around me in my world, I definitely relive that in a very real way.
Yeah, no, you definitely do, and I feel it obviously physically. I feel what you're feeling. I don't feel what you're feeling, but I feel it. I feel it through you. I feel it through our connection. So I feel obviously emotional about it as well.
Hmm.
It affects everything. It affects everything that you do, and I see that. So yeah, I mean, I think as creatives, it's not that easy to kind of shut these things off.
Yeah.
I think creatives are a little bit different in that way that we see things, we're inspired by everything, like one way or the other, either positively or negatively. Like we smell smells differently, we see light differently. So I think when we have something that's emotional like that or something real, again, financial, physical, family, whatever it may be, it affects us. And I think it comes through in our creativity. So,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think that's part of the journey. It's part of the process. But I think the more we can work on finding a balance when we see that thing coming, when we see that emotion coming, I think in the long run, it's just a healthier way to be. Um,
Yeah.
it was interesting. Like at one of these conference that a friend of mine had in town last week, and one of the things that we talked about was how some creatives are extroverts, some creatives are introverts, and there's different sort of things.
Hmm.
And they talked about how what they've learned. This friend of mine who's done a number of these events, he said that people that are inherently, let's say, introverts or like nervous when they go to big things, conferences, events, meetings, they go into this negative space before they ever get there. And they go into this mentality of like, well, nobody's going to want to talk to me. Nobody's going to like me. I don't have anything to offer. All these famous people are going to be there, or these more established people and they talk themselves into this place. And what he was trying to help the audience with in saying this, he was like, what if you just flip that the other way around? Like you did this, so obviously you have the ability to put yourself thinking forward beyond the moment that you're in. So what about you flip it the other way? What if you be like, I'm the most popular person that's going to walk into that room. Everybody, not two people, everybody there is going to want to talk to me. Everybody there is going to love what it is I'm talking about, what I'm working. They're going to love my outfit. Clearly they're going to love my outfit. And not to be cocky, but just to have a little bit of like, I'm going to project this thing of like, I belong here. This is going to go well. And he said, listen, and quite frankly, it might not. It might not. But chances are, by bringing that energy to the table, you're going to have a little extra spark in your step or a little whatever. And someone is going to say, hey, I'd like to talk to you. And then you just don't know where that can go. So I thought of that very much into the context of what some things I know that you've experienced where as your partner, I want to be there for you. I want to help you get through these things. And, as you with me, and I don't know, I just thought it was interesting.
No, I think that's true, and I think it's a like for me because I'm constantly working on myself. I have a therapist, I have great friends, I have you as my partner. Like I surround myself with emotionally intelligent people, and
Jury's out on that, but okay.
and I think it is an exercise in self awareness and it is an exercise in experience, like to go through those somewhat harrowing experiences of holy shit, if this thing happens, I'm screwed. And then seeing how you navigate through that, which I know you help me with this all the time, and then seeing how it actually turns out and patching those experiences together to say, okay, going into this the next time, I now know this, and this is the pattern. Therefore, I can probably not get so devastated in the interim of waiting for the ball to drop. And also the fact that this past time, I had literally kind of got to a place in my own head of how I was going to handle it and that I was going to be able to navigate it regardless. So I feel like victorious in a weird way that I have accomplished some mental clarity, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's great.
maybe
Yeah,
some resilience and because this is a tough thing. And I think it leads into our next topic of healing generational trauma.
yeah. Okay. Did you want to kick that one off?
Sure. No, because like they tie together for me.
Yeah,
And
they definitely tie
it's
together
also,
for you.
yeah, and honestly, like I think they probably would tie together for a lot of people. I don't really honestly, if everyone's really honest, I mean, there's probably a lot of people who never even think of this or have ever thought about it. And I would have to say you're probably not a very self-aware person. But I think there is generational trauma that we are all dealing with and maybe don't even know it. I am certainly very aware of mine. And it is something that I do discuss with my children and obviously you. And it's part of my life and it's part of my journey this year in particular. I want to make a real effort to really look at it and face it and see if I can really make better some relationships or some thoughts or some beliefs that I've had that I don't need to carry anymore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I think all those things are valid, and I think you definitely have been putting in the work. I mean, certainly, 4 or 5 years ago, you were in a very different place around certain things that you've had through, your experiences in your family and your life and different things you've had. You've carried them into the next thing and into the next thing and into the next thing. You've had, you know, let's call it traumatic experiences, emotional traumatic experiences that you've experienced, that you've had through, different things, family, friends, relationships, whatever, that affect you for sure. And I think this topic of who's going to break it, like who in the family is going to break it. And I think that is something that, it's for any of us to kind of, make decisions if we're presented with that. Like if we're in that sort of place of how do we make that change, right? Like this has happened and we go back and say, well, wait, that happened to my parents or that happened to my grandparents or that happened to my great grandparents. Like how do we affect that? And are we going to be the ones to make that change? And I think you kind of came to a realization that you made that decision that you want to do that you want to really break whatever generational trauma you've had so that your children don't have to have the same experiences. So they can kind of start clean from where they are
Yeah.
and move on past that. And I think that says a lot for you as a person and your character and who you are. And I applaud you for that, and I certainly support you in doing that. I think it's easier said than done, but I think one of the ways we're able to do it for those of us who can do it, or anybody out there who can do it, is you have to look at the fact that it's a real thing. Because
Yeah.
if you just look at it like, well, I had this experience, and you stop it there, you're not going to heal that. If you be like, well, I have this because my father or my mother or my sister or my brother did this. Okay, well, why did they do it? Well, but let's think about what their life was like. Like, what did they have? Or what did their grandparents have? Like, and so when you can go to that, I think part of it is you can cut your parents or whoever, but usually it's parents, you can cut them a little slack. Like, even though what they do or what they say you really, really don't like, that's fine. But when you go past that, then I think you can really make that change, and I think that's what's important.
Yeah, and I just want to say that healing isn't blaming. It is accepting responsibility, and it is making a decision of we can now, like, we can validate everyone's feelings, and we can validate where people are coming from, and then we can say, okay, now let's move forward in a healthier way.
Yeah,
You
I think
know?
that's great. I think
Yeah.
that's great. Okay. Well, I think we hit some good topics this week. Quite frankly, I mean, I know they were a little on the heavy side, but I think that's good. I think we covered war, fears, trauma. Yeah, that's I don't know. Maybe we'll change the name from Pickles and Pasta to War, Fear, and Trauma. That'll get us ranked number one. Watch out, Pivot. We're coming for you. Okay. Well, I think it's time for the rapid fire questions.
All right. So I'm going to go.
Sound effect machine. What?
I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions, and let's hear what comes out first of that big brain of yours.
Ugh.
Okay.
Let's see if I
So
can find it. Okay.
here we go. If your creativity had a superpower, what would it be?
Calmness.
Damn it. Okay.
Fuck was that? Okay.
I love that. I love that answer.
No.
Okay.
Hard.
One word your work lives by.
Cool professionalism. I made it one word. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's
Cool professionalism is one word.
there's a hyphen or something, whatever that thing.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. A hobby you want to pick up.
That Olympic sport where the sweeping thing, where they sweep on the ice.
Oh, I don't even know what that
The
is.
stupidest Canadian sport on the planet. They sweep on the ice. I'm kidding. That's not curling.
Oh, okay. All right. Really?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
So that was a
Life is a hobby for me. There isn't. There
okay,
is.
there's your answer. I like that one. They were great. Great answers.
Okay, your turn. If your creativity had a superpower, what would it be?
To be able to create the things the same way I see them in my head.
Interesting.
That would be amazing.
Okay. One word your work lives by.
Authenticity.
Nice. A hobby you want to pick up.
Sculpture.
That's not a hobby.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's not a hobby for you. It's not a
Okay.
hobby for you because you are.
Crocheting.
Sure, I'll take that. I don't crochet me a scarf. It's not going to work.
No, I would crochet you a cashmere sweater.
I I love this new hobby that you've decided to pick up. I'm going to put the team on this. The team, get ready. We're gonna have to get all the supplies. I don't know where we're gonna fit them, but whatever it takes, I'm
I'll get another bin for my knitting supplies.
getting me a crocheted cashmere sweater, which I haven't ever heard of such a thing. But anyway, okay. Well, I think that's all the time we have, boys and girls. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this was reasonably entertaining for you. It was for us, so there's that.
It's nice talking to you, Jay.
Thank you. It's good seeing you again. I'm going to go to the other room now and give you a big kiss. That is it for this week's episode of Pickles and Pasta with
Steph,
and Jay.
eat your
Bye.
pickles and your pasta.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.